Jaya Kunjavi. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivadari, Jaya Girivadari, Jaya Gopi Jaya Girivadari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivadari, Jaya Girivadari, Jaya Jaya Yashodanandjana, Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana, Jaya Yashoda. Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Srimati Radharani ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice to see you all again after a long time. Always a pleasure to be here. Today we have a very special announcement right after my class, so don't leave. A very, very nice news to share with all of you. So please stick around. and be part of the celebration. And today is a Mother's Day, so they asked me to speak something relevant to today's being a Mother's Day, and I was thinking, where should I go with Haribol? I'm seeing her after a long time. I'm sorry. I'm a pretty spontaneous person, and this whole formal setting really freaks me out. So it takes a while for me to settle in and get comfortable. So, actually, if you'll see, it's nice that even those people who don't follow any specific spiritual path do celebrate days like this, like Mother's Day, Father's Day. It's nice. It tells something, right? That these are personalities that everybody appreciates, whether you're spiritual or you're not spiritual, irrespective of what race, what culture you come from. There's always this appreciation for the people who bring us into this life, into this world. And actually, days like this, if you see, they touch an emotional chord. Like there's an emotional component to these days, But actually, as devotees and any spiritualist, like especially the Hare Krishnas, we do celebrate days like Janmashtami, which is actually a Father's Day, because Krishna is our Supreme Father, and we celebrate his appearance day as an expression of gratitude. And we have Radhashtami, which is Srimati Radharani. She's our Supreme Mother. We celebrate her birthday, so it's part of our culture too. The difference between those who are not spiritual on any spiritual path, and those who are on a spiritual, the difference is the days like this, we have a spiritual component to it. So there is a context, why we do celebrate these days. And actually, to celebrate, one is a superficial aspect, like giving gifts. And like there's one level, I won't say superficial, I would say there are multiple layers. The first layer could be what we see, exchanging gifts, Then the second layer is like go a little deeper. There's an expression of gratitude, what it means, what that person means to us. And a third layer is, it's much deeper. It's beyond just gratitude, but what's the purpose? If you really understand why do we celebrate, one has to be little, there has to be little gravity, or you have to be grave to really understand this. Because to appreciate somebody, one has to really take time to introspect. Take some time out and then really introspect and try to understand is what does it mean to celebrate this particular person in my life. If you genuinely want to celebrate, if you really want to get the whole benefit or the experience of celebrating something or someone in your life, you have to invest in that sense, like, pause, go internal and ask yourself, like, what does this person mean to me? And it's very interesting when you do that. And I do this journey, I take this journey very often because me being who I am, and I'm not including all of you, I'm just talking about myself. I like to get into the space of self-absorption a lot. Me, my poor self. I'm so giving, I'm so caring, and sometimes I think there's nobody as caring and loving as I am. Like, I don't think any one of you goes through that, but I do go through that. And that's when I put a pause button and I ask myself, like, And that's the training I'm in right now, because when I came into this process, I was in a space of a lot of self-absorption. And then when I came across this path, it talked to me, it showed me that there's something beyond yourself. And you're here not just because of yourself, you're here because of other people in your life. They have contributed for you to be here today. It was a long journey. It was not an easy journey. I'm not talking just mentally understanding. This is like a deep, from the heart kind of an understanding. And some people learn or understand this very fast, and some people take much longer to understand that. And I'm in the slow one, So it took many years. And I was one person who took a long time, unfortunately. Now I'm not ashamed to talk about it, but it took a long time for me to genuinely appreciate my mother. Because growing up, she was the disciplinarian, and she was strict. And till I didn't become a mother, I didn't appreciate what she did for me as a mother. Because when I had to discipline my child, that's when I realized, man, I'm just like my mom, and I understand now where she was coming from. And that journey made me realize, actually, when I removed my own filters and my subjective judgments about her, I realized that actually she gave me a lot more than I acknowledged. Not just by giving birth, but a lot of things that when growing up I thought, but now I appreciate. And today I feel, when I was asked by Satarupa Mataji to give a class, I said, man, this is a difficult class to give, because I give very few classes. I don't like public speaking. I give very few classes, but those who have heard me, they know they tend to be a little bit on a personal, they have a personal note to it. It's not, so it's very scary, because to talk on Mother's Day about mothers and not to talk about my mother, it's hard. But it's also, as I paused and I was contemplating, I was very grateful for my father and for my mother too. But today's Mother's Day, so we'll talk about the mothers. And all my strength and my confidence, which I didn't want to acknowledge when I was young, but now I very happily and with a lot of gratitude, I acknowledge it comes from my mother. For her being there, for being consistent in day in and day out, doing the same routine things, and then hearing from 3 kids saying how that was not enough for us, and yet not getting boggled down, and then just doing it. That's amazing. And every mother is actually like that. Not just my mother. I'm sure all the men and all the women who are sitting in this room and out there, they will definitely say that they had mothers who did that for them. Can you imagine, like, you're not, especially most of you here are from India. I see few of you are not from India, but I grew up in India, so, but let me know if it's same or it's different. You can, chime in. But for us, like our mothers, they cooked, and, they did pretty much everything. Most of them were homemakers, somewhere, they used to work, but our generation grew up with mothers being at home. And man, they never had a break, 7 days a week. And I think it's there in all cultures, They have to get 3 meals to the table with no help. The men were very typical, like, they were trained like that. You can't blame the men, The men do outside work, the women do home work at home. And today when I'm in that situation, I have a husband who's amazing, who supports me and who helps me in the kitchen, cooks and stuff like that. But my dad doesn't know cooking, and my mom did it for I was with her, like 40 years, like, till we were there. And she's still continuing. She's 70, and she's still continuing to do that non-stop. It's amazing. And where that commitment and that dedication, where does it come from? Women are in general very strong. Actually, if you'll see, they have a lot of immense internal strength. Men have a lot of physical strength, but women in their, and men also are mentally strong, but the strength that a woman has, like if you even, I don't want to sound feminist. I'm not being feminist here. But it may sound like that, but it's true. Even today, 3 years ago, we had TSI, you know, it's the Sangha initiative. It's a youth thing that our kids get together, and every summer they have retreats. So 3 years, it was 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, 3. So Chicago hosted TSI, you know, retreat. And I somehow, Mukunda and Shruti literally, like, you know, begged me, you have to do it. You have to, you know, come and meet these young people. So I reluctantly agreed to do one session with them. It was interesting. The problems and the issues that I faced as a young girl, the girls of today face the same problems and same issues. And my mom said that her generation faced the same issues. So we are saying we are modern, we are becoming modern and, you know, equal rights and blah, blah, blah. But the fundamental issues that a woman faced 50 years ago, maybe 100 years ago, she still faces that today. And guess what? What has changed? But she has learned to get educated, get a job, you know, manage a office and manage home. So in fact, the women have really advanced. I don't want to talk about men anything because then I'll sound very feminist, but it's not that. What I'm saying is women are very powerful. And if you look at our scriptures, because I'm emphasizing this because sometimes our scriptures also, the way it's written, it almost like, you know, you hear that she needs to follow the husband and, like, you know, her job is, like, you know, I don't want to repeat. Like, sometimes you even hear Prabhupada say the women are less intelligent than the men. And that's a big thing for young women. You know, I hear so many things from there. How could Prabhupada write something? But it's in a context. And we'll not get there today because that's a whole different class. Prabhupada's everything you should see in the context. If you remove things from out of context, it will not make sense for you. In fact, sometimes you may even feel offended. But actually, if you carefully read our scriptures, women were always respected and they were very empowered. Very powerful women are, you know, mentioned in our scriptures. How many of you know the story of Ganga Mata Goswamini? That's why I picked that personality, because I knew most of you may not know. So she was this princess in Orissa. Her father was a king. And she was a very unique personality. Very early on in her life, she was very clear that I will never marry a mortal being. That means she was completely dedicated to Krishna, and she wanted the Supreme Lord to be her husband and no other man she is going to look or get married. She grew up and her parents thought maybe, you know, her mind will change, but it didn't change. She was very fixed on that I'm not going to marry, because if I marry, it's going to be Krishna and no one else. So one day, she got this vision, and she was like, you know, Jagannath. Like, she used to live very close to Jagannath, and she was told that to accept a spiritual master, and his name was Haridas Pandit, not Haridas Thakur, but Haridas Pandit. So she went to him and she requested to become his disciple. But since she was a princess and she was a woman, she was not like accepted as a disciple immediately. But she was not like, you know, disturbed by it. She gave up her, you know, palace life. She took to very simple like, lifestyle, like, begging, doing madhukari. And so Haridas Pandit was eventually very impressed by her. So he gave initiation, and her name was Sachi Mata. And then he instructed, and she continued serving in, in this place. It's called, what is it called? What Ganga? Shweta Ganga. A place called Shweta Ganga. That's where this is like she's after a couple of generations after Mahaprabhu left. So it gives you a context, So one day her spiritual master gave her the instruction that go to Radha Kund, this is in Vrindavan. And there is one Mata there, her name is Vishnupriya. And she happens to be her maternal aunt, her mom's sister. So she said, why don't you go and associate and be with her and, grow in your Krishna consciousness. So she goes to Vrindavan, she spends some time with Vishnupriya, and then her spiritual master gives the next instruction. So then he says, go back to Orissa, and near Lakshmi Ganga, Shweta Ganga, there is this temple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You know about him? He was an associate of Lord Chaitanya. So he had his deities, and her spiritual master wanted her to worship those deities. But the complication was, he had a Shaligram Shila. All know Shaligram Shila. So technically a woman cannot worship Shaligram Shila, only men can do. So now here is a young woman, and she's got this instruction from her spiritual master that she needs to serve these deities. So she just followed her spiritual master's instruction, and she started serving those deities. It was the Damodar Shila, so she started serving those deities. And then one day she had this desire, where the Ganga merges into the sea. There's a small island, and they do a festival. I think it's the Pongal time. It is all Makara Sankranti, when the sun is starting to go on the northern horizon. On that day, there is this huge festival on that island. And she had this desire to, go and bathe and, worship Mother Ganga there. But she had taken Kshetra Sannyas, like she was like a sannyasini. What Kshetra Sannyas means, you take sannyas but you don't travel. So you stay in that place for the rest of your life. So she was committed to serve, Jagannath, like, near, not Jagannath Puri temple, but this temple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and take care of the deities. But in her heart, she had this desire. So how could she leave? She cannot now, break her vow. So she went to, take rest. And in the night, Jagannath, the Lord Jagannath came in her dream. And he said, there is Ganga here, because Shweta Ganga, it's basically a kunda. It's called Shweta Ganga. He said, this Ganga is non-different from that Ganga. So in the middle of the night tomorrow, you can go and you can take bath there, and you'll have the same benefit. So you don't have to feel disheartened that you couldn't go to Ganga and take a bath there, or you have to break your vow and leave Orissa and go Utkal. So she wakes up, and she was very inspired. So the next day she does that. And as soon as it's midnight and nobody's there, and she takes a dip in Shweta Ganga, suddenly it felt like it's like an ocean. Big waves started coming, and then she gets swept to the inner doors, like in the sanctum of the Jagannath Puri temple, and she's right there in front of Lord Jagannath. And then suddenly the guards feel that there is some disturbance happening. Where is this noise coming? So they open the door and they see, and by then, her name from Sachi Mata, it becomes Ganga Mata Goswami. No, after this incident, sorry. So she's in front of Jagannath, and the guards catch her and they put her in jail. because they think she's a thief. Because the devotees in Puri didn't know who she was. So then the next day night, Jagannath comes in the king's dream and he chastises him, you know. How dare you imprison my, pure devotee? I asked her to come and I made arrangements for her to come to my, inner, temple room. And your foolish people have captured him. And then Jagannath gives him 4 instructions. He says, you immediately go and fall at her lotus feet and ask for forgiveness. Then 2, you get initiated by her. 3, you get a small piece of land for her and so she can peacefully stay there and worship me. And 4th, I'm trying to remember. I'm forgetting what it is. So the next day the king gets up, he's super happy to be chastised by Jagannath. He thinks it's a special mercy. Even though he's committed an offense, Jagannath is kind that, he has allowed him to ask for forgiveness. And he goes to Mother, Ganga Mata, and he falls at his feet and she starts laughing. She said, you didn't offend me. And then she said she doesn't need the land. She's very happy serving the deities, and he does take on an auspicious day, he does take initiation from her. And for the rest of her life, she was known to be an amazing, she was a spiritual master. She initiated devotees and she was known for her austerity. And even though she was like a princess, she led a very simple life. So I'm sharing this story to say that in our movement, there are such personalities who are very qualified to even give initiation and accept disciples. So in one sense, it's true that we are all souls. This is just a covering. Somebody is in a woman's body and somebody is in a man's body. But we are all souls, and according to what our inner desire is, Krishna reciprocates and he empowers us. So each one of us does have the ability to become a spiritual master, to be empowered and to guide and to lead others in spiritual life. So one doesn't need to be disheartened if they're in a woman's body or in a man's body or whatever. Whatever situation you are in whatever position you are in, you can always serve Krishna. Krishna accepts you. In the modern context, it becomes kind of very complicated because a part of our training is into modern education and the whole modernization, and there is some validity to that and there is some benefits. You cannot really say this whole modernization is not good. Prabhupada didn't he showed by his own example actually. He used the dictaphone. He traveled to America when in India people used to say you should never cross the 7 oceans. Either you die or you lose your caste and blah blah blah. But he didn't follow all that. But at the same time, he's a fantastic example of how he balanced the Vedic tradition and how he took advantage of modernization. And I think he's a good example to follow for all of us. Some may say, the Facebook, the Instagram, and all that. Even I was under that perception. I was not so much into it, and mainly because I'm totally daha in it. So my way of covering my ignorance is to say, oh, this is all nonsense. But when I see my 14-year-old, using all that stuff in Krishna's service, it's amazing how the youth today, because they're growing up with all that stuff and how they use that in Krishna's service is amazing. So if we want to be preachers, we have to be part of this world, You cannot be like a dinosaur like me. You can never really reach people's heart like that. Anyways, coming back to my point is that, so how do we see these gender roles in modern context, especially for all of us when we are also pursuing a spiritual life. And our scriptures, what they say, is it still valid? Yes, they are valid for eternity. It doesn't matter which age, which yuga, it's valid. It's just that we need teachers. That's why we have teachers, to understand them, what's said in scriptures in modern context. So while it is expected, and even if you're not a Hare Krishna or you're not following any spiritual path, do you all agree that there are very clear gender roles in every society, in every continent, and in every community? Yes. And unfortunately, most of the time the focus goes on what's not working, and almost like what I'm trying to say is that if we can look at things positively, actually what we look at being not so positive, it actually becomes our strength. I'll give you an example. Many times women are told that they're subservient to their husbands. Maybe not this generation. This generation things are changing. But my generation, it still existed. At home, we were trained like that, Oh, you don't behave like this. Tomorrow, who knows? When you get married, your mother-in-law is not going to tolerate this. Your husband is not. And I used to always say, why do I need to adjust? Why he can't adjust to me, So that was a big no kind of conversation in our house. But I was the rebellion, the outspoken one. But before the women are told to be subservient, something that's not focused is actually the men need to be trained. Who was the one who laughed? Do you agree or you don't agree? Yes? No, I was expecting one of the guys to tell yes, I'll tell you why. Because in the scriptures it is said that for a wife, the husband is a representative of, of the spiritual master of Krishna. So that's why the women need to treat the husband like, like a demigod. But what the husbands are forgetting is the part where the scripture says that the husband first needs to learn to be the servant and to be chaste to the spiritual master. Because once the husband, learns to be chaste and to be a surrendered disciple, then automatically, because the qualification, then he gets qualified. So a wife will automatically be submissive. But if the husband is not, but if the husband is not trained, and but the wife is expected to follow the husband, it's very hard. And then, okay, all the women are laughing, but then the point is, who is training the husbands or the men? No, the mothers. Yeah, the mothers have to, so therefore, actually for the culture to be preserved and to be passed on to the next generation, the women play a very, very important role. A very important role. The character of any child, the first 5 years, the mother plays the most important role. She's the first teacher. It's a very, I would say, a very important and a very prestigious service, actually. We are being empowered to do that service. We may have some other experience and we may deny it. No, that's not a fact. That's a different, but the reality is that women are empowered and they are strong enough to train their children, because the first 5 years is when the entire training in the womb, and then the 5 years after that is where actually all the training of a soul happens. After that is just a manifestation of different things of what happened in the first 5 years. So mothers, And if you have grown-up children, don't feel disappointed, okay? Because it's never too late. Whatever you could have applied when the children were just born or when they were in your womb, it can be still applied, because that's how it works. So it's very important that women understand that they are not weak. Basically, in the society, men generally have this exploitative mentality, and the women have the victim mentality. I'm sorry to say that, but I counsel a lot, and I do see that it's a very objective, and the men need to change their perspective, and the women on their own have to change their perspective. If we all keep thinking we are victims, we will be treated like victims. And the men, if they think that they can exploit, they will keep exploiting themselves. They have to stop doing that, and we have to stop doing what we are doing. So basically, if a mother, now again, coming to the point, even in a relationship, we are giving. The husband is giving, the wife is giving. And in that giving, we have to understand where we are coming from. I'm talking about this, the victim perception that we carry about ourselves. When a sacrifice, because we all think we sacrifice in relationships, right? How many of you feel that, we are constantly in some relationship or the other sacrificing something or compromising? Yeah, most of us feel like that, because every healthy relationship, actually, compromise and sacrifice is not bad in relationships. It's really not bad. If you love somebody, to share, to give, and to take, it's very healthy. But over the years, how it's done is what gives a very negative, what do you say? Oh, maybe, yeah, approach. Yeah. So, when sacrifice is done knowingly or unknowingly with an expectation, then it backfires. But when sacrifice is done out of love and gratitude, it nourishes you. Pause for a minute and think. Is everybody understanding the point I'm trying to say? So every time you're in a relationship, ask yourself, when you are giving in and you're engaging in the relationship, and especially this is very common in a husband-wife and parent-children relationship. Agree? We are constantly giving, we are constantly taking, because these are the two relationships that were very close, and that's pretty much we interact with these individuals in our lives every minute, every day, for a very long time. When any relationship, when there is this exchange happening, if catch yourself the moment you're in some situation where you're feeling that you are compromising or you sacrificed and you're not getting a good feeling about it, you pause and you ask yourself, where are you coming from? And it will clearly tell you. If you're coming from a place of expectation, because if you do this, the other person should reciprocate in a particular way or in return do something for you, you are bound to be disappointed. And you will feel very disempowered, because you are going outside of yourself to find your happiness and to feel empowered. And that will never happen, believe me. But when you pause and you realize that what you're giving in and, compromise or the sacrifice you're making, it's coming out of love and gratitude. Then you feel very nourished. You don't feel as if you've been taken advantage of. You feel understood. You feel the comfort to express yourself about what you're feeling, and you grow. How many of you have the habit of writing a gratitude journal here? Great. Anybody else? If you don't, great. So there are few of you who write gratitude journal. I encourage all of you, please, it's worth doing the exercise every day. This was something that was told to me 20 years ago by my spiritual master. I'm not very regular nowadays, but I try to do as often as I can. It's been part of my life, and it's an amazing little thing that you can do for yourself. Writing a gratitude journal every day takes only a few minutes. And that will make you realize, basically gratitude journal is nothing but seeing all the opportunities you had during the day to be genuinely a servant of a servant of a servant, and all the opportunities that you lost or you missed of being a servant of the servant of the servant. And what that does is that it teaches you, over the 20 years, what I've learned is it teaches you humility and gratitude. Because what I've realized is that some days you feel that you're the worst of the lot. There could not be anybody as worse as you are. Like, most people, everyone goes through that. It's just how life is. And at that point, when you feel that, you're not good enough, days like that, I realize that you feel totally like humbled, that there's so many people who are much better than you, and who are like, they may be cooking better than you, singing, doing much better work than you, or giving fantastic classes, whatever. There's always somebody who is better than you. And then you realize that you're so insignificant and you're so small. What is there to feel bad? Krishna is still maintaining you and taking care of you. So it teaches you, gratitude, like humility. And the days when you're feeling very fantastic about yourself, and it's okay, being spiritual doesn't mean that we have to beat ourselves in the name of humility and say that, we should not feel proud about ourselves. We can be sometimes proud about ourselves, because when you recognize that whatever nice is happening in your life, it's all gift of Krishna and mercy of other devotees in your life, then you can celebrate it. And when you celebrate it like that, gratitude grows in your heart, because you realize that you're there because of so many other factors in your life. It's very important to do this, because when you do this exercise, one really can go beyond discovering of I'm a woman and I'm a man. One could truly go to the core identity of who we are. We are servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord. And then all this, upadhis means all these titles and all these things that we attach to ourselves will be not there. And it's very important, like for instance, why I'm saying this, because women in general, because culturally, even in America, it's interesting. I've been slowly, whenever I get time, I'm trying to understand even girls growing up in this culture, because today this is my home and I need to understand, where I live and how people think. Even the Western young women, I'm sure, like, even now, whatever we are seeing, the Me Too thing that's happening, and my son discusses a lot of these things because in school they have to discuss, so he keeps me updated about all these topics. And I appreciate that. Like, why is it happening? Because there is no equal pay. The women still are paid less than the men. There is inequality everywhere. So we have to focus on the proper education of both men and women. And if you read the scriptures, and women, because they don't feel empowered, they don't feel very supported. I'm telling you, if men, if your fathers, your brothers, I'm telling you, even if little bit of support and encouragement you can give to the women in your life, I'm telling you, you'll be doing such a big service. Because they have in them the inherent power to, if they can give birth and they can train the generation, every generation, man, that's a pretty daunting task, They need only a little bit of encouragement and support, and I really encourage all of you to do that. Make your daughters and your sisters and your wives, empowered. For example, look at Kunti Devi. Man, she was sister of, Vasudev. She's aunt of Krishna. She had the most qualified husband. She had most qualified sons. And yet, she always had troubles in her life. Always. Her husband died young, left her with, she had to take care of 5 young, boys. She did a fantastic job with that. Yet, what was her strength? Her strength was that she always took shelter of Krishna. She herself was a very qualified woman, but she never lost the focus of her life, that it's her relationship with Krishna. Even though he is her nephew, he's playing that role that he's her nephew, but he's still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And despite all the difficulties, she always took shelter of Krishna. That's the most amazing. These are not just stories. If you apply, you will see that in your life too. How Krishna came to Kunti's help every time she called out, and every time Krishna was there. Of course, don't be like Kunti and keep asking for trouble so Krishna will come. We are not Kunti Devi. Okay? But what it says that whatever problems we have that come naturally to us because of our karma, you just pray to Krishna for, to give you the strength, and you can take shelter. Take the example of Uttara. She was very young, she lost her husband when she was very young. She was pregnant, and, Ashwathama, sends this nuclear weapon to kill, Parikshit Maharaj. And she instantly takes, shelter of Krishna. It shows a lot about her own internal strength, the inner strength, that right when her womb is attacked, the next thing she can only think about is taking, running to Krishna and seeking his shelter. Vishnupriya. You know who Vishnupriya is? She's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wife. She was very young. She was like 16 years old or something when she got, when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. He was very young. He was 24. She was so young. She was so sad that Lord Chaitanya decided to take, sannyas. And she's mother, she is a goddess of fortune. But in the Leela, she is incarnation. She is Vishnupriya, and she reconciled to the fact that her husband has decided to take, sannyas. And men, generally they say men can take austerities, women cannot. But Vishnupriya is amazing. You know how she used to eat only as many grains on which she had chanted the Lord's name. So it's like 1 rice grain, Hare Krishna, the mantra. So in a day, whatever she could chant, that's what she would cook and she would eat. So if you'll see in a practical way, you will see, oh, these are all stories. It cannot happen in real life. Somebody will die. They cannot survive by just eating this much, rice every day. So how did she survive? It's her internal faith and strength and the belief that she has Lord Chaitanya's protection. Her power of chastity and her power of faith is what kept her going. So each one of us, see, we are today's Mother's Day, we are giving women's example, but in actual reality, we all are Prakritis only. We are female energies, men and women. Only there is one Purusha, and that's Krishna. So each one of us has this internal strength. Just tap into it. You know, in your daily practices, how you do your daily practices reflects on your ability to, you know, tap into that internal strength and your connection with Krishna. I'm looking at the time, it's 6:25, so I should stop here. 2 minutes if any comments, any questions, and then I have a very special announcement to make. Okay. Oh, there, Nirantar Prabhu. Oh. Yeah, I see him. No, no, actually, you take care of your child for all your, actually, you're always taking care as a parent. But what you do the first 5 years is the most productive years with your children. And then rest of the 20, 40 years that you will be with your children, it is just magnifying that, in, you know, and that's growing. But the first 5 years is very crucial. And no, it's not easy. Parenting is not easy. It is, but one of the, you know, even though it makes us feel that we are so unqualified, you know, because having children, that's the first lesson in humility you learn. That you're totally depend on something about there, and you're not on your, you cannot do it on your own. And it's the first lesson in humility. But just imagine how trusting Krishna is, that these children who are given to us are actually Krishna's children, you know. We are just an instrument to bring them here and to nurture them for some time. And we are totally unqualified for that job. And yet Krishna trusts us to do the job. So it's very important on our part to actually tap into our that connection with Krishna through chanting, hearing, reading, through our spiritual practices, so we can do this job nicely. If we lose that connection, then this whole, you know, the idea of sacrifice and expectations, you know, that comes in, creeps in, and then that kind of messes up, you know. Exactly. You did a fantastic job. It was not easy to be leaders in the community, both you and Mother Premananda, and raising a child. It was, you know, you did a fantastic job, I must say. And all the parents here, I must say, you know, all your kids are wonderful, and all your mothers, fathers, and they did a fantastic job, you know. It's not easy to bring a soul to a spiritual path. It's very difficult. So, and once they're here, what they do is their business with Krishna. It's not our business. Okay, it's 6:30. I'll stick to my time thing. But I have something, a very special announcement to make. We had something called ILS meetings that happen in Mayapur. Basically, there the Ministry of Congregation recognized some core key members in every community in ISKCON worldwide, and they were given awards for their contribution, for their, you know, sacrifices, and for the kind of support they have extended for the community to grow and to sustain and inspire young generations. So from Chicago, Chicago means Naperville too, Mother Premananda and Father Nirantar Prabhu were nominated, and they were given the award by, yes, there's a garland. I would like Nirantar Prabhu. Nirantar Prabhu, I would like you to come here. Hari Bol. Huh. Please come. Shruti. This is, I know both of them are now actively serving the Naperville Center, but this is Kishore Kishori's Mahagarland Prasadam for both of you. For those who don't know history, about over 30 years ago, when Rompa Swami, who was our GBC, became GBC of ISKCON Chicago, that time pretty much there was hardly any congregation, and even the congregation that we had was not really very serious. It was all like a hodgepodge thing. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. Nobody was seriously really following Prabhupada's teachings. And then there was this one couple, Nirantar Prabhu and Mother Premananda. They moved to Chicago from Michigan, right? And she single-handedly, and he with her, like there was only one Kirtan person. Those days, ISKCON was not into Kirtan, believe me. It was not into Kirtan. Only Nirantar Prabhu was into Kirtan. So wherever we went, sharp, whatever program, wherever it is, whichever part of Chicago, you know, they used to live in Gurney. And if he has to come to Naperville, he'll be the Naperville congregation used to be late for the program. But Nirantar Prabhu will be there sharp on time with Mukunda. And I have pictures of Mukunda, I have to show them, where he has his Mridanga player, Premananda Mataji is playing Kartal, and he's saying there was one family team. And they would go, and they, one by one, cultivated each one of us, me and my husband too. So she would pick up the call, he would come, he would do, you know, and I appreciate like how Maharaj took this one couple and with their help build the Chicago congregation, which is like we have 300 to 350 devotees coming every Sunday. And now they are helping the Naperville congregation to grow. It's an amazing, amazing service. And the ISKCON global body wanted to recognize their sacrifices and what they're doing for this community. And one day I'm waiting for the temple to come and this congregation to grow. And one small thing I know they both won't like, but Nirantar Prabhu, like when he was, like when all these kids, like some of them are now like Shruti, he's here, but the Menon children and all of that. Nirantar Prabhu literally would go to their house and teach them Kirtan. If that generation of kids, they do Kirtan, all glories to this person standing here. If he was not there, believe me, those children were like monkeys. Especially if anybody knew Sri Rupa, she could never sit still. But he somehow did the impossible of making her sit down, and today she's considered as one of the best Kirtan person we have. And all these kids, Shruti, Mukunda, and if Mukunda is the best Mridanga player, the discipline came from here. And sometimes, honestly, we didn't appreciate that, but today we appreciate it. And Mother Premananda, her dedication is one example I'll give you because today's Mother's Day, so I want to really share something. Mukunda was just few days old, not even a week. She used to do a children's class, Bhagavad Gita class in her house. So she had no help, and Mukunda, the baby, is in her lap. And she continued. She went to the hospital, delivered him. The next week, she's in her house doing Bhagavad Gita classes with the newborn baby in her lap. And she has not stopped till date. So I thought today is the best day, you know, to give this certificate to both of them on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. And thank you so much for let's say a big Hari Bol to both of them. Hari Bol! And not to forget, I would also like to thank Mukunda because, you know, you were supportive as you were growing in your own way, so your parents can do what they are doing. So there is your contribution also. So thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. I have to thank Hemangi, feeling with a deep feeling of gratitude for her to have gone and gave this recommendation to the Congregation Development Ministry in Mayapur. With the deep feeling of gratitude, you know, she is my God sister. I love her very much. But at the same time, I have a couple of thoughts on my mind which I have to share with you. The years of service that I got involved to serve my spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada, from the day I came into ISKCON, both of us came into ISKCON. For me personally, there was no feeling of, no expectation of any sort, no expectation of a recognition, no expectation whether it is by title or by any other way. I was a person who lived with my books. I don't think I would have ever interacted with another human being if I did not ever come into ISKCON, because ISKCON is such a setup that you cannot live by yourself. You have to interact with people. So from the day one, since stepping into ISKCON, it has become the service to interact with people. And I would say that all these years, and continuing as long as Krishna wants me to do, this has been out of genuine desire to serve my spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada, the deities, and this institution. There was nothing else in my heart. I know there was nothing else in his heart either. When receiving this certificate, I would say we receive it on behalf of all of you. I wanted to appreciate the congregation development team, all the devotees who have taken up the service of leading Bhakti Vriksha programs, all the devotees who are involved in book distribution, all the devotees who are involved in cooking Sunday feast, all of you, this is for you. And thank you all for your service. And having received this, I think this being Mother's Day, and I know that all of you have expressed your love for me, including Hemangi Mataji. So I think I am entitled to ask for something, right? Because I am the mother of the whole of Chicagoland. Can I ask for something? Yes. I need something from you. I need something especially from Hemangi Mataji. First I will ask her. By Krishna's mercy, Naperville Center is growing, and we are on the brink of beginning this temple construction. So what I need is your full, wholehearted support all the time, full, wholehearted support, so that we can manifest this temple as a continuation of last week's class, how Thirumangai built the temple in Srirangam, continuation of that. Let us build this temple for Sri Sri Radha Madhava and Sri Sri Radha Shyamasundar, and I seek your wholehearted support for that. And I seek the support of each and every one of you. If you love me, please do that. Yes. And I sincerely ask you from the bottom of my heart. I will make a couple of quick announcements. Thank you again, Hemangi, for coming. Sunday feast was sponsored by Dev Iyer for his son Atid seeking devotee's birthday. Sanjay Shah's mother, Ramila Ben Shah, she passed away on May 12th, and they are seeking the Lord's blessings and prayers for the departed soul. And as always, we pray for the spiritual well-being of all these family. We pray for the departed soul's journey towards Krishna's lotus feet. So kindly chant after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And today's Sunday feast has been cooked by this fantastic team. Sangeeta Kapoor Mataji, Raj Prabhu, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Raj Shekhar Prabhu, Maruti Mataji. And the cleaning team is Prasanna Prabhu, Lingaraj Prabhu, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, and Vrindavan Prabhu. Please give them a big hand. And also, there has been a request from the Sunday Feast cooking team that they need some help, not just today, to be part of the team. If any one of you are willing to participate on a rotational basis, it doesn't come every day. Every week it is only one team, and so there are 5 teams or so. If you would like to be part of these teams, whether cooking, cleaning, service, please go to the front desk before you leave and sign up for this service. So you will get an opportunity to do service for their lordships. With that, I just want to give this to Shyam Prabhu. He has some announcements to make. Thank you, Shyam.
Thank you, Mataji, and congratulations for everything. Very quickly, there has been last week very interesting realization. In fact, 2 different feedback I got from people saying that, hey, ISKCON devotees, ISKCON devotee. So ISKCON devotee don't come and ask for donations and money like every other temples. So which is very positive feedback, right? So our time is now, right? Our time is now to go and ask. But whatever we do, our fundraising effort and the fund is growing. So far this year we have raised about $67,000, and so our total fund has been around $98,000. We spent about $90,000 so far. So we have around $505,000 in the bank, right? And which we will be using very soon in our process. So as you, in case you don't know, we have 5 bidders for our, utility work, and out of those we have selected 2 through interview process, and then finally we will be having 1, and hopefully things will start soon. Last week also we got approval from county. It was very important approval, so that we are making progress. We are also last week with our little bit of effort, we got another, not congregation, I would say community member, Dinakar and Pavitra. They placed $15,000. So again, I keep sharing this, my realization. With the Lord's mercy and with Prabhupada's, whatever the process he has created, we have amazing success. Everywhere you go with the expectation of 2,000 to 5,000, and they give you more. If you expect 1,000, they give you 5,000. So it's just that we have to take this effort a little bit. I remember, and this effort doesn't need to be there like, again, there could be a big bang fundraising. We will do that. We'll do that. Let's just wait for right time. But the best way is like, friend's friend, your friends, your relative, your community. That's the easy way to communicate the message. So I remember last year or so, a year before, during our one of the event, Lakshmi Mataji's son Tushar, he just distributed the tulsi. He has tulsi plant, and he distributed, and with that we got $300-400. So every little bit effort can raise money. So with that, my daughter Risa, she does babysitting. So I said, Risa, why can't you contribute? So she said, okay, Dad, I'm giving 1 brick. So she's supporting $100 1 brick by her babysitting. So again, this is a beginning for Risa. Risa will grow and do more and more, and They will continue to support the temple, but this is the start. So I'm saying, likewise, everybody can do it. Whether you can support a brick, a tile, or entire temple, but everybody has the capacity. Please think through that, how you can do it, how you can communicate this message outside. We are also working on fundraising program, and very soon we will be communicated. There will be other communication coming weeks or so, but I thought on a high level I wanted to give you. If you have any other question, please talk to me after this. Otherwise, we'll go take darshan and go for prasadam. Thank you. Hare Krishna.